Golden Circle got a lot of hate, but I actually did like it. Now, what was most criticized was the action. People felt it was too stylized. I don't mind stylized action. I know what they mean though. In that first opening action sequence in the limo, I thought the action was too over the top, too cutesy. But there were some other really good action sequences. The one in the bar in particular, and all the action scenes with the lasso. I think the lasso's a super underutilized weapon. It makes for some really cool action sequences. And it was a whole little twist on the America meets the Brits thing, which sometimes worked in this movie, sometimes didn't. But I thought the lasso part was one that did work. Now the snow scene, the big shootout in the snow, that didn't work as much. I thought that got kind of ridiculous. Had its moments, but wasn't one of the better action sequences. But the final action sequence where they have the umbrella and the briefcase, and you'll know what I mean if you've seen it, I thought was one of the best, most creative action sequences I've seen. Not to mention just quintessentially British with the suits and the briefcases. And that final action sequence, it did go on too long. The last 5 minutes, you're feeling like they got to wrap it up at some point. But that doesn't change the fact that we had 20, 30 minutes of great action and some of the best action sequences that I've seen this year. Julianne Moore, I do think she did a really good job and pulled it off as a villain. And I liked her robot dogs, the meat mincer scene. It was a good mix of over-the-top and goofy, but also pretty sinister. And as well as when they show the process of getting accepted to her organization, and you see the teeth getting filed, the fingerprints getting shaved off, and the tattoo. Again, a little over the top, but nonetheless still pretty sinister. And I did like the message behind the movie about how we can dehumanize certain kinds of victims if we don't think, oh, they're not that innocent, and they kind of had a hand in their own demise. And we get one of the best shots of a prison or a makeshift prison that I've seen that's just crates of just cages being stacked on top of each other and being moved around with these big warehouse machines. Great visual, very unsettling. And I thought a pretty believable supervillain doomsday scenario, and I'll talk about it more in spoilers. Now, as I said, the whole British meets America thing, I thought it had a lot of potential and it could have been great, but it didn't quite work. And I'm not sure why, but it had its moments when they're trying to pick up the woman at the music festival, and it's the old Southern guy versus the young British guy. I thought that was quite funny, and the humor as a whole, it was hit and miss, but I think more hit than miss. Like the Elton John thing, I didn't like it at first, but they kept going back to it, and they really committed to it, and I feel like that joke surprisingly got more funny as the movie went on. The cast was good. Taron Egerton as the lead, he was great. Colin Firth, always great. Pedro Pascal, biggest surprise for me, I thought he was a standout, and I'm not familiar with his work, so that was a surprise. Bruce Greenwood as the president was terrific. He's been doing great work this year. Now, Halle Berry and Channing Tatum, I feel was great and wasn't underutilized. I feel he came in, made an impact, and then they moved away from him, which is fine. Halle Berry was a little different. I feel like she never really made a strong impact and was somewhat underutilized as a character. Same with Jeff Bridges. I feel like never really made a strong impact and was somewhat disappointing. Okay, now I'm going to talk about some spoilers. The idea that a cartel with major reach would put some kind of poison in their drug distribution and then blackmail the president with an antidote, and the president, who kind of thinks drug users had it coming anyways and sees this as an opportunity to really clean up the world and kind of purify it a bit, that's not the most, as far as doomsday scenario goes, that's one of the more realistic ones. And then the way Mark Strong's character went out, British guy singing Country Roads Take Me Home, it was again this great mix of goofy but also really heartfelt, and I think this movie a lot of times nailed that goofy or sinister or goofy and heartfelt and made both the vibes work. And as far as the whole Amnesia storyline goes, I'm never a big fan of these storylines where someone's a badass and then something happens to them and they're kind of shell-shocked and they got to work their way back to their old self. I feel like it's just kind of treading water. But I thought this was handled well, and it created a genuine shock, surprising moment when Colin Firth shoots Pedro's character and says he's a double agent, he's not working with us, and you think he's just gone insane, and then you're not sure whether he was right, and it's revealed that he was right. When he first shot him, it was a genuine twist, and I got to give the movie credit for creating something that genuinely surprised me. And last thing I'll say, if you're a big Kingsman fan and you didn't like that big mass killing of agents at the beginning and thought that was unnecessary and too much, I understand that criticism. I think that's fair.